Our attention now is to a potential technological game changer. We are talking about artificial intelligence. So, promising applications of AI in receivables finance. So, that's a good question. So, adopting new technologies can be a daunting process. However, in this panel discussion, we explain the practical challenges that you see in analog-born business and to transform processes into something new based on AI technology and AI implementation. So we are really curious to hear what you will find out in your discussion. Micha, you are the moderator here, and I would like to give the stage to you. So the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Robert, and thank all of you for sticking with us until the end of this very insightful conference. Well, the topic, as Robert already mentioned, is on promising applications of AI, which has been a personal interest of mine for quite some time, and in this case, promising applications of AI in receivables finance. Of course, it's not just about what I'm interested in, but also what value you can get out of it. So I brought two very promising guests with me. First of all, we have Dimitri Zampetas from Atradius. You've been there for around 20 years now.
Exactly.
Since 2010, you've been in strategy and corporate development.
Yep.
And you have quite a lot of experience in implementing solutions for front and back office, as well as already in implementing AI solutions. And on the other hand, we have brought with us our very own AI expert and product owner, Tobias Nießner from SCHUMANN. You've done your PhD at the University of Göttingen, also focused on data science and on risk use cases in accounts receivable management. And you've been our product owner for everything related to AI since 2023. But enough of us. Now for the first question I have, Dimitri, in your mind, are there any commercially viable opportunities to implement AI in the realm of credit insurance and receivables finance?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you very much for having me. Well, there are three things that you can do with AI. So the first one is bring in efficiencies, so reduce costs. The second thing is to bring in greater effectiveness, so basically doing things better and faster. And the third thing is to create new business value, completely new business value, particularly in combination with other technologies, such as smartphones, the Internet of Things, or iCloud services. So in Atradius, for the time being, we are focusing strictly on efficiencies and effectiveness. So basically, we're trying to see business-critical areas where we can apply AI across the value chain, so both for the organization, but also for our customers and our business partners. We are basically looking at automating narrow and routine tasks that we couldn't automate before. We're also looking at finding new ways, particularly with generative AI. That's a more recent development in the organization. We're looking through generative AI to find new ways of working. And the aim of that is basically to free up time for our people, to focus more on what we do best, which is credit management for our customers. But at the same time, to think more creative about our products and the way that we deliver those products to our customers as well. Eventually, through all those efficiencies, we aim in the medium term to create a more attractive value proposition for Atradius in the market. And this is exactly where we see those commercial opportunities that you mentioned, Micha. Our journey in AI in Atradius started back in 2016. So we integrated AI and machine learning into our systems for better portfolio management and credit decision making. We do things like, for example, extracting and analyzing company information directly from different sources, machine reading of financial statements, company ID matching. And we also use neural networks and fuzzy logic for credit decisions. And the results have been impressive, as our director of group buyer underwriting said recently in an interview in the Netherlands. So we have managed basically to bring in efficiencies, be more productive, better customer service, and critically, claims savings as well. So if you think the size of exposures that we've got in our book and the number, the volume, the sheer volume of limits that we process, which runs into millions, this is quite significant. I mean, AI obviously cannot remove the credit risk, but definitely can assist in better credit decision making. Particularly if you look at receivables financing, for example, it's all about volumes there, right? So you've got large volumes of invoices, you've got large numbers of buyers, eligibility criteria, fraud detection. So across the value chain, there is a lot of opportunity for automation through AI. So definitely, my view is, when we speak about commercial viable opportunities, the focus should be on efficiency, so making things better, faster, creating a better, a more attractive value proposition in the market, because you can pass on savings also to the customers as well.
Thank you very much. I guess we're off to a great start here, and it's great to hear that you have made great experiences already with, on the one hand, focusing on efficiencies and really the low-hanging fruit, and on the other hand, of course, really thinking of AI being a business-critical technology. In terms of that business-critical technology, Tobias, from experience, what do you feel are the most important aspects to consider when looking at business cases and also technical feasibility?
I think I would like to perfectly agree with what Dimitri said before. We need to look first at the problem and not at the technology. The technology is not the thing that tells us what are the problems. We have problems. We need to look at what are the real problems that our business or that drives our business, where we can really make a difference. And we need to think about how to prioritize them. And we need to think of costs and also of whether there is a data strategy or there is no data strategy at all. Then it's really much more work to implement those solutions in the second place that could be solved in the first place when we think of it at the beginning. So I would say it's not about forgetting that we need data, that we need quality, that we need to look at this first, and then think about what are the crucial problems.
Yeah, maybe I can add to that, Tobias. I totally agree with you. You have obviously to know, from the technical point of view, what are the elements, the necessary elements that you need to have in place. But also another thing is to think of the limitations of machine learning and AI for your business. So, we are looking at this in Atradius. Limitations are they are data hungry. So you really need to have the data to be able to implement AI. You have to think of things that, some of those models, they assume that the world is stable, that it doesn't change. They assume that the data are representative of the situation that we want to apply AI in. So these are situations that you have to think of and think how well those fit in the situation that you would like, on the application that you would like AI to help you with.
Yeah.
Dimitri, could you actually go on a bit about, of course, those use cases we talked about, all of them are different. And of course, you need to first focus on low-hanging fruit. But in credit insurance, how could traditionally analog-born businesses really differentiate themselves through the use of AI?
I mean, for born analog businesses, it's absolutely critical for technology digitalization for the long-term success. If you think that we live in a world that is very uncertain, you absolutely need to have in place, well, not necessarily obviously AI to deal with that, but digitalization is a very, very important aspect. And it's when we go, particularly speaking about AI, it's the rate of adoption of AI. Actually, I will rephrase, is the rate of adoption of the appropriate AI that will give you this competitive edge. So you have to look at two things. You have to look at how fast you can realize the benefits of AI, but also what are the areas of application. So this needs to be business critical areas. I mean, being a digital laggard, as I said before, in our times, leaves you exposed to economic shocks, as the recent pandemic taught us. But also, I think it's perhaps the only possible defense against the born digital businesses. And that includes a variety of different startups and fintechs, digital ecosystems, the tech titans. And we see a lot of activity in the SME segment. So we see how all those digital ecosystems, they're trying to wedge themselves between the SME customers and the business services providers, banks, and insurers. And that represents a very good example of how technology can actually give you a competitive edge. So obviously, the technology that they're using, AI, machine learning, it doesn't remove the credit risk. So they still need to work with us. So we are flooded with requests to work with those digital startups. But it's absolutely clear in the market that they have a very appealing digital value proposition, and it's more appealing than the proposition of the analog-born insurance companies like ours. So I think focusing on specific areas when it comes to market, where you can benefit from automation and AI, it's something that will give you the competitive edge. But I would like to stress again that it is the rate of adoption of the appropriate AI that will give you this competitive edge. I use this example that I heard recently in a conference, that electricity was around for 30 years before businesses started adopting it, when it became a new technology. So they knew the benefits were there, but it took them 30 years to actually do the transition to electricity. So that's a very good example. I hope the same will not happen with AI. We're still on early days, but.
So not just the complexity of tasks and also not the perfect AI model, but more so also the speed of implementation and also, of course, integration into processes. Of course, you mentioned SMEs. I can imagine that it's way easier to actually, in the SME business, go for automation and AI first, but down the line, of course, bigger and more complex tasks are possible. Yeah. In terms of costs for all of that, of course, nothing's for free. So depending on what you're after, it may be better to buy something or to build it. I guess both of you have some opinions on that, but Tobias, would you like to start?
Yeah, I think we need to talk about the design of the problem first. Is it a really generic problem, or is it a problem we can differentiate us in the competition? So if we have the data to differentiate us, we can always build models. If we have the capability to look at the data quality, to monitor the data quality, to monitor also the operation of the AI model, we can have really much fun in the competition. But if you only need a generic solution, then just take the models that are open source. Yeah. And the really crucial part is you don't need the model next to your system or maybe in another system. You want those models and those decision support in the process. And maybe it's also perfect if you do not even recognize it.
Yeah, absolutely. I will agree with that. I mean, the decision framework, whether to buy or to build in-house, I think it's pretty straightforward. You know, you've got two main questions, as you said, Tobias. You have to look at the application. Is it generic, or is it industry specific? Is it business specific? And I would like to emphasize here bottlenecks. So if we are dealing with specific bottlenecks in our business, whether it's strategic bottlenecks in the sense of market segmentation, for example, or is it economic related bottleneck, I think this should be built in-house. So that's the first question, what is the application? And the other question basically is where we are at capabilities. Yeah? Are we just starting, so we know we can't do that? Are we somewhere in the middle, so we know we can, we can do this? Or we are in the next stage where we have developed teams, the capabilities, and so on. So whether to build or buy, it depends on the type of the application, but also, it's a strategic decision for the future, whether we want to build those capabilities in-house. So in Atradius, for example, the tools that I spoke about previously that we used in portfolio management and in credit decision, these were tools that, we need the specific tools for specific applications. So some of them are generic, off the shelves, but some of the other tools we have developed jointly with partners in the market.
Okay, I guess there's quite a lot to take away from that for, well, our viewers as well as myself. But first of all, of course, you mentioned the specificity of the actual problem and if it's really business critical and specific to your business. Apart from that, of course, you also mentioned resources. In terms of resources, yeah, we all know that there is a certain skill set needed, and we also know that skill sets don't just come out of nowhere. So, Dimitri, what do you think, given your experience in implementation of AI projects at Atradius, is the most critical characteristic of leadership relating to such projects?
That's a very good question. I think one key leadership behavior is the ability to combine, and particularly for insurers. Yeah, we are traditional businesses. So it's very important to be able to combine old ways of working with new ways of working. I mean, the insurance industry is very famous for, operational discipline, governance, structure, formal ways of doing things, in a very structured way, KPIs, very specific performance measurement indicators. And then when you think about AI, that's a completely different picture. It's about agility, it's about adaptability, flexibility, autonomy as well. So being able to combine those two different environments, ways of working, I think it's key. There are other key leadership behaviors, if we can call them that. So the other one is clarity of what you want to achieve with AI. You need to be able to know what's down the line for you, what you need to have in place, and how to go about AI. I think it's an absolute necessity to have this clarity of vision on what you are expecting to achieve. Experimentation, hoping that you will have some kind of benefit in an area where you are not so sure whether that's the right application. I think it's very easy to waste a lot of money and time as well. So, and of course, the other sort of behavior is to have this determination to take action and move things forward as well.
So, keeping it briefly, just looking at the time, it's quite late after all. You mentioned the vision. That vision, of course, needs to be communicated not just externally, but especially internally, and also needs to be communicated to all relevant stakeholders. One of those kind of stakeholders, of course, is compliance. Tobias, regarding regulatory as well as ESG concerns, what do you think has the biggest impact on addressing these, and how should organizations in general think about tackling them?
I would like to say, if we talk about AI, we can't ignore the EU AI Act. And I don't like to see it in a negative way. I would like to see it as a chance, because when you are forced to have your models a little bit of more transparent, your operation a little bit of more transparent, then it's also a chance to educate your whole company and seeing the value of this technology, and also seeing the risk, and also seeing how interplay in your company needs to be designed. I think this is a short answer. I hope you're fine with it.
Completely fine. I'm happy with that answer. And good to hear that regulation and need for transparency aren't necessarily bad things for us.
Can I add on the compliance that I think it's a very important, when we speak about AI, it's a very important area, because this is a new risk management area, when we speak about AI. So it's really very important to be addressed. And I totally agree with you, Tobias. It represents also an opportunity for insurers to be able to shape this regulation.
So I feel we have covered quite a lot of ground here. First of all, as I mentioned, I'm very happy for your success at Atradius with AI projects, of course. Tobias, your technical aspects, technical aspects you mentioned, and the importance of understanding those, and also regulatory concerns. I really enjoyed hearing about that. And Dimitri, you've shown that AI is not there for the sake of it, but you need to have a clear, structured vision about that. I think we may have time for one question out of the viewership, actually. So maybe to both of you, if you were to start over again, what would you do differently in terms of AI strategy as well as usage at your company?
I think it took us, actually, the way that we developed since 2016, since we started those initiatives in AI, we started small. So it was something that it was undertaken by a group buyer underwriting unit. It was developed sort of in isolation. So I think that was a good thing. Because it gave them actually the ability and the flexibility within a big organization to take quickly decisions, to be able to forge, those models that they needed for the implementation. But I think that scaling up AI, it's a quite important issue, because if you don't scale it up across the organization, then you are not going to reap the full benefits of AI. So I think scaling up is crucial, and there are 4 areas that you need to address with that. So it's finance, IT, HR, and compliance. So if we were to do this again, I would probably try to involve more stakeholders of the organization, particularly when we are moving to the scaling up phase of AI.
I'd like to also add on this. When you have a new technology, there's always the trap of losing yourself in expectations. You can solve every problem, but this is why I mentioned it at the beginning, the problem needs to be always come first. And you need to think always about the value the solution for the problem gives you. And this is something I really would do in a different way when I want to start again.
Okay, sounds great. Well, you do have the option over at SCHUMANN, of course. Thanks to both of you for that interesting discussion.